I really hate waking people up with bad news.
There's this old Roman saying, just when you think things can't get any worse, they suddenly do.
Well, I was first to hear of the news, and I realised the impact this would have immediately. Jesus' grave had somehow been opened, 2 guards had disappeared, and the body was gone.
Well, it's quite common to have a crime where someone ends up in the cemetery. In this case, the scene of the crime was the cemetery.
Incompetence. Pure and simple. Right? Now, this government has proved yet again that they are simply incapable of running this country. Either that or it's corruption on the highest level. I mean, corruption or incompetence, you take your pick.
Losing a dead body, well, it's quite embarrassing, really. Obviously, the suspicion fell on the 2 men supposedly guarding the grave.
Well, I admit I was surprised when I found out who was on duty that night. These were 2 well-respected, decorated career police officers. I would back these men 100% of the time, if only their story hadn't been so bizarre.
It was nearly dawn, and Tim and I were splitting a cigarette and trying to keep warm, and then that's when there was the flash part, like the bolt of lightning behind us, and I wanted to turn around, and Tim wanted to turn around, but we couldn't. We don't know why. We were just choked up, and we were afraid. Okay, we were terrified, and then when I heard the grating, and the light came from behind us, and I didn't turn, but I know my shadow was stretching out, and Tim's shadow was stretching out, and then I saw another shadow between us.
No, that's just rubbish. I'm not even going to dignify that question with a response. Look, I mean, come on, aliens and spaceships, it's just complete and utter rubbish. The facts in the case are pretty clear and simple. Let's just try and stick to those, shall we?
The next morning I went to my letterbox, and there was an envelope inside with no return address. It was just blank. It was for me, and I opened it up, and there was a note inside that it offered me $100,000, and I was to change my story and say that somehow Jesus' followers came and moved that heavy stone and took the body.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The opposition will continue to press for a resolution in this matter, and anyone involved in this conspiracy will be prosecuted and punished.
There was a lot of political heat on the issue, so I had no choice but to suspend the 2 officers whilst we made inquiries.
Yes, I received information that both Marcus and Tim were being leaned on very heavily. Marcus stood by the original version that he'd given me. Unfortunately, when Tim came to give evidence, he completely contradicted Marcus' story. Either one of them or both of them were lying. In the end, both Tim and Marcus were dismissed from the force.
Yeah, it hurts. You know? It's hurtful having your character questioned, having your integrity questioned, and all you're doing is telling the truth. You're telling it like it happened, you know. And I've lost my career over this, and all I've done is stick up for the truth.
Well, the last I heard, Tim came into some money, retired, and is now living somewhere on the Greek islands.
Look, the amount of rumours and misinformation being spread around by all different sections of the media, it was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the government had entirely lost control of the PR, and it was mainly because no one could even agree on the kind of messages that we wanted to send out.
On one hand, we had the opposition who were pushing for a royal commission and wanted every aspect scrutinised under a microscope. And on the other hand, we had most of the cabinet members pushing for the opposite. They wanted it all swept under the carpet.
Well, it ended up with the authorities deciding to ignore the issue and just hope that everyone forget about it. But, well, it's still ongoing, isn't it?
I don't believe anyone could have broken into that gravesite, moved the stone away, broken the seal. I think there was something definitely, well, supernatural.
Well, until we find a body, Jerusalem police consider this to be an open investigation.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. Some of Jesus' friends and followers, they went there, they stole his body, and then they claimed that he had risen from the dead. And at least one of those guards actually testified to that.
Well, life's too short for regrets. A politician must stand by his decisions. What I've done, so be it. Although, knowing what's happened, perhaps I would do things differently.
I don't like to say I told you so, but...
Maybe I should listen to my wife a bit more in the future.
If you would like to find out more, leave some feedback, or register for some free giveaways, click on the link to An Innocent Man from christiantelevision.org.au.